Hey, it's Travis. Too many camp directors run just on gut feel. Our free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic is your dashboard for resilience. Take it today at camp.mba/Travis. Again, that's camp.mba/Travis.
What do you give to the camp director who has everything?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
This episode of the CampHacker podcast is brought to you by UltraCamp. Wouldn't it be refreshing if your registration software gave you more time? With UltraCamp, you can track attendance, manage staff applications, streamline registration, and much more. Get back the time you need to focus on what's really important, camp. Find out more at summercampsoftware.com/camphacker.
Hello, Camp Pros, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast. This is our annual Tool of the Week special.
Tool of the Week.
My name is Travis Ellison. I'm a summer camp marketing and strategy consultant, and I'm excited to be here for this episode. I love this one.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I'm a social worker and the director of Camp Highlight, a sleepaway camp for kids with LGBTQ plus parents. And I'm more excited than Travis. So everyone deal with that.
And my name is Gabrielle Rail. I'm one of the camp directors at Camp Waro, which is an all-girls camp in the Laurentian Mountains. We focus on creating a positive environment for gender minorities.
And my name is Joe Richards. I'm the executive director at Pierce Williams Summer Camp and Retreat Facility, part of the United Church of Canada's camping network and I'm located here in Fingal, Ontario, halfway between Detroit and Toronto.
Excellent. Some of us are keeping our old introductions and some of us are changing it up this year. I love it. Well, welcome to the show. We're not sure exactly when this comes out. After we record it, we know it'll be around the new year or the holidays at some point. And we like to spend time just talking about things that we recommend, since so many people say that the Tool of the Week is their favorite section. However, we've given it a bit of focus this year, knowing from all of our conversations with camp director friends and between the four of us in this circle that everybody is tired and worn and weary. One of my mom's favorite words that I completely agree with, just weary. And so we thought we'd give the Tool of the Week a little bit of focus on self-care. And so to get that started, we've asked that each person share 2 tools that positively affect their mental health. And Joe, I want to start with you. What are 2 tools that you'd recommend to positively affect your mental health, and how or why do they do that?
Both are things that happen early in the morning when I'm in the office. And so the first thing is a daily routine sticky note. This is something for many, many years in my life. I fought routine. I just thought it meant less creativity. But literally at the bottom of my screen right now, I can read daily routine as of April 2021. Okay, hang coat, place keys / sunglasses, turn on diffuser, move tickler file, read daily meditation, date the bullet journal, log into computer, check voicemail, check info, email, write 3 main tasks, and then what are my daily questions? That's a sticky note, and it'll change from time to time, but it builds habits. So now I come in. Do I always need to refer to the note to do those things? I don't, but it's not like I have a ton of notes on my, I'm not a believer in the sticky notes on your monitor. I have that, and I have a Alt MBA. Who's it for? What's it for? Where are the constraints? Right? That's what I have on my monitor. So the daily routine really helps me just be like, great, at least I can do these things, which leads me to the daily meditation that I'm reading is from a book called Glimpses of Grace, Daily Thoughts and Reflections by Madeline L'Engle, who is the author of A Wrinkle in Time. And so it is it is a Christian-based meditation book, but she's a science fiction and fantasy author as well. So she has a really interesting view of the world. I have many of these, and what I plan to do is just rotate. So not many of this specific one, but I have some that are like the Stoic and other things, just something that you can read daily. This is dated, and I miss weekends, which is fine by me. But those are the two things that are positive for my mental health, because it gives me a cause to, I often read it out loud to myself when I read it in the morning. Like I stand here and I literally read it out loud. And then I stick sticky notes where on ones that I truly love, like October 27th was my latest sticky note. And it's just very, it's an interesting, right? Perhaps what we are called to do may not seem like much, but the butterfly is a small creature to affect galaxies thousands of light years away, right? Like you're like, okay. And I save them so I can use them with camp staff when we get back to that. But it certainly helps me clarify and ask questions.
Yep. That's awesome. Thank you for those two things. How about for you, Gab?
For me, I have a podcast that I listen to on and off called Feeling Weird, feeling with no G at the end. And the head host, Kai Plant, to me is doing something quite exceptional where he's very, very, very open with his struggles, and he's very open with how he's trying to shift his inner monologue and being kind to himself. The podcast that I've shared here is with him and a conversation with this other podcaster named Non Wells. And it's such a beautiful podcast where it's two men holding space for each other. And I think it's just such beautiful role modeling. But what I appreciated the most is that Kai really talks about how he really puts it out there, his stress and where he feels in his body, and how he tries to cope with that. And it's just taught me how to, just by his role modeling, how to shift my inner monologue and acknowledge the anxiety that I might be feeling. Even before our recording today, I noticed that I was, a little tense, and I was hoping that what I was going to say was going to be smart, but what if I'm not smart, and et cetera, and just acknowledging that I had those feelings and breathing through it just really, really helped. So I love this podcast. It's definitely for a mature audience, and I don't necessarily agree with everything that is said in the podcast, but his kindness towards himself, I find really helpful. And I think it's a particular type of podcast, but I've found it very helpful for myself. While I'm listening to that podcast, I sometimes hang out with my fur children, as some people might call cats, Jack and Lily, and they are just a constant sense of reassurance. I believe they have decided that they are therapy cats. When I'm not feeling great, especially Lily comes and sits right beside me. My staff call Lily the teller because they tell on them that they're not doing well. So if they come into my cabin and there's a group of 5 of us and she goes and sits beside somebody and puts her paw on them, they're like, "Stop it, Lily. Don't tell everybody that I'm not doing well." But she lets me know when I'm not doing well before I even know it. But just having those little furry babies around is really nice and puts things in perspective and helps me disconnect when I get hyper-focused on whatever project I'm working on in front of a screen. And I don't even realize it's 1 a.m. They're very clear to let me know it's time for bed. So I love those two.
That is awesome. Thanks, Gabz. Chris, what are 2 things for you?
I have 2 very simple things, but this is something that's been helping me my entire adult life, is a journal. It's so simple, and maybe it's not your thing, but it really could be your thing. I started a journal when I was 17 years old, and I did it every single day for the next 6 years. Now I have an entire biography of the most excruciatingly painful and shameful years of your life. You know, 19 to 25, nobody wants to review that. And I don't. But the thing is that at the time, being able to write my thoughts down I can't tell you how helpful it was to be in conversation with myself. Now, this is something that I picked up again recently. My to-do notebook, the notebook that I carry around with me everywhere and I jot stuff down. I just started jotting down like narratives about my feelings. So it's like, the to-do list. And then also like, thought about this today. Why am I always da 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 da? Especially in this day and age, when we text things or we type things, and I don't know if this is the same for everybody because I've only ever been me. The act of writing it down longhand really gives me time to think and consider the words that I'm using. And even I can start one sentence, by the time I get to the end of the sentence, I've really given some thought about how I feel and what I want to write down. And when you're typing to a friend or you're texting to your online therapist or whatever, I feel like you don't get that kind of reflection. And that's it. So I would say just go buy a journal from Staples or the Five and Dime or whatever, and just write. Even if you're just writing words or drawing pictures, just get it out. The second tool is an actual app called Stay Free. And I wish I had this a couple of years ago. And there's a lot of apps like this. So you don't have to download Stay Free, but basically it just records and reports how much time you use the apps on your phone. And you can set limits for certain apps like Instagram or the New York Times or whatever. And it will say, hey, you've been doing this for 45 minutes and your limit's 45 minutes today. It doesn't shut your phone down or stop you from doing it, which I appreciate because I am an adult. But it will annoy you with the notification. It will be there all day. And if you're like me and you want to have a clear notification drawer, it will drive you mad. And so it doesn't control your behavior, but it informs you about your behavior. So at the end of the day and the end of the week, it gives you reports. It's got bar charts. I love a bar chart about what you're watching, what you're doing. And it allows you to be a little bit more thoughtful on your phone. I remember, I don't know if you heard, but in America, we had a problematic president. And I would spend a lot of time just like doom scrolling through news sites for 2-3 hours a day. And I would have just appreciated a gentle hand on my shoulder said, Chris, stop this nonsense. And that's what Stay Free is for me. So those are my two tools.
Are great. My two tools, one is just the coolest little field kit. And I forgot to bring one here for those of you watching on YouTube. I'm going to gesture a lot without actually showing you anything. But you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast and look up all of these things that we're sharing today. This is Winsor & Newton is a company that does a lot of art supplies and particular watercolor supplies. And one of the things that I've taken up in the pandemic is going to start watercoloring. I've done lots of painting in my life. I've never liked watercolors. I always struggled with it. And so it's been an interesting challenge. So it fulfills that part of my brain. It's like, I need a challenge to be engaged. And it also lets out my artistic side too. It's like, if I can imagine this, that if someone looked at this, they could look at the same scene, be like, oh, there's those two trees. And, there's the transition between grass and trees. If people can recognize that, I'm happy enough, but I'm really just doing it for myself. This is a fun little travel kit where you can contain your own water. It has, a sponge to clean your brushes off. It has the cutest little tiny expandable brush built right into it. And, with this in a little pocket watercolor notebook, you could set up and paint anywhere. And I've appreciated that. And it's a fun skill. And just making art in general is one of those things that whatever your art is, doing it, I think is such a good thing for your own mental health. The other thing, and this I've noticed, and this is partly like you, Chris, like I, at the beginning of the pandemic, the first 6 months of the pandemic, I was so stressed, but I found that every time I left my desk, I was just listening to the news. I'd have the news on my podcast, and it was like just news. And eventually I was like, I can't. But I do find I really need, in order to concentrate, I need some sort of music or stimulation in order to get concentration going. But I know that I can't listen to stuff that, is music that I love, that I'd sing along to. I'd get distracted by the lyrics. And so I have, I've always been, not always supposed, but in the last 10 years, been a fan of this London publishing company of dance music and chill hop music and all that. It's called Anjuna, and they have one of their divisions is called Anjuna Deep, and it's mostly chill hop, lo-fi music, no lyrics, but cool beats and fun melodies. Joe and I both share a passion for Taiko, and I would listen to Taiko a lot more. He's got some really great whole sets, but I find the SoundCloud app really annoying, and so I tend to listen to his music when I sit at my desk. But if I'm on the move, something like this, Taiko pulls in Anjuna Deep music in all the time into his DJing sets, but this is the Anjuna Deep chill out playlist on Spotify, and I put it on. It's hours long, and I hit random, and so there'll be songs that surface that I love, but they're the ones that kind of surprise and keep me engaged. And that is a way that I can manage my own stress and give myself a little bit of focus. So those are two of my things. So we've often recommended good books to make you a better camp director, and I think those are important. But we want to just talk about two things that you like to read, two books that you recommend that others just read for fun and enjoyment. And Chris, what are your two books today?
Okay. So these are my two books. First of all, when we got the assignment, I was like, I looked at all the books that I'm reading on like history and racism and healthcare. And I was like, Indeed. Oh man, yep. I'm having fun, but I was like, I don't know if other people are going to feel the same way. So I'm going to recommend two different kinds of books. So the first one is a graphic novel. If you don't know what a graphic novel is, it's basically a comic book, mostly around adult themes sometimes, or at least it's not all superheroes in tights. But it's a graphic novel. It's a story told with art. And the one I'm going to recommend today is called Why the Last Man. This is, I think they greenlit a show on TV.
It's coming out this winter.
Maybe for you, I've already seen most of it.
The show. Okay, great.
Yeah, the show is, I think the last episode is by the time you hear this, it's done in America. Yeah. The show, whether you like the show or not, because the show is a particular kind of thing, it's a little dark. Especially for the times. The book, however, is it's a different vibe. So let me start here. Why the Last Man is the story about this young kid. He's like 22, 23. He lives in Brooklyn with his pet monkey, Ampersand. And on one particular day, for a reason that no one's quite sure, every single creature on Earth with a Y chromosome dies instantly, except for this young man and his male monkey. So now he exists in a world of women, and he is traversing on some mission to find out, to find a doctor who can analyze why he's still alive and 4 billion people have died. And as he traverses this world of women, it's just really interesting, sort of the adventures that he gets into. The authors have a particular point of view about what the world might look like. I must caution you, the main author is a man, which you have to remember every time you look at every single frame. However, it is a good time. It's good storytelling. And I won't even tell you, I won't even give away what actually happened. If you get to the end of the story, slide into my DMs and tell me what you thought. The other book I'm going to suggest is called Misfits by Michaela Cole. Michaela Cole is an actress / poet / writer / just absolute incredible, brilliant Renaissance woman, genius. She is behind the shows Chewing Gum, which is on the BBC. Also, she was on a Netflix movie called Black Earth Rising. And recently she was in an HBO Max show called I May Destroy You. She's brilliant. And in this book, she just talks a little bit about her life and her inspiration, and she's got this style. Like, she's radically honest. She confronts like the industry and people on issues on genderism and racism. And she's a beautiful writer. She's an incredible, incredible spirit and an absolute unique talent. So I consume everything she does, and I insist that you do as well. So those are two things that I'm reading for fun.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Gab, have you got books that you want to
I do
recommend?
have books. Yes. I'm just opening up my Audible because that's how I digest books, is by listening to them. So for me, the one that I could not stop listening to is Broken Horses by Brandi Carlile, who is a musician. And she talks about her life from basically her young age until now. And it's an autobiography, but it's also, she sings live throughout the book itself. So if you pick up a paperback, you're sort of missing that part. So if you're able to get the one where she's actually reading it, it's really, really well done. She's a great storyteller, like a lot of musicians are. And I listened to this almost immediately at the end of camp. I think I heard about it on news or something like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll be interested. And we all know how tired we are at the end of camp. I fell asleep, but I would wake up, rewind, and listen again. So that one was great. And the next one is A Reason for Hope by Jane Goodall. And for me, the reason why this goes into the happy pile or the feel good pile is that Jane Goodall has been fighting the good fight her entire life / career. And she's talks about just, it's sort of a way of looking at the world and how, in an environmental sense, what some of the wonderful things that we're doing that's helping to contribute to our environment, how relying and supporting younger generations to help move us into the right direction. But she has such a hopeful spirit about her. And I think sometimes I don't feel so hopeful. And just having her, maybe she's more of a mentor figure for me. So that's why I feel reassured. But her hopefulness helps me feel better, but also I think gives me concrete things that I can start thinking about. And it's quite lovely. And of course, she narrates it itself as well. So that's really fun to listen to.
It's great. It's great. Thank you for those. I didn't know about the Brandi Carlile book. I appreciate the definitely listen to it recommendation. Right on.
Yeah.
Joe?
I am going with two books that are just for fun. So the first one is The Lord of the Rings, which I can't recommend enough. Even if you only know it through the movies, you need to read the books. I love Lord of the Rings and have read them many times and haven't read them for a number of years. And I read it at night on my Kindle. And I fall asleep with dreams of Middle Earth in my head. And it reminds me of how much freedom it gave me to imagine the world when I was young and reading it stuck in a farm town in rural Ontario. And it's great. Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien. The second one is a book called House of Leaves, which lives in my head. I first read it when it was released around the year 2000. It is the strangest book. I don't think there's an audible version because the book itself is part of the story. The quick explanation for this book is it's two stories in one. So it's like you're reading two novels at the same time. And the book is laid out very strange in certain places. So the story, the thing I like and what I'm reading now, is about a house that a photojournalist moves into, and the inside of the house is bigger than the outside of the house. And they discover, that's the easiest way to say it, but they discover pathways into the inside of the house, and they lose people inside the house who are on like multi-day expeditions to try and discover the limits of the inside of the house. And the second part is that that story was written by this guy who died, and somebody else got all of the notes and footnotes and things for the house story. And so it follows him. But there's parts, and I just realized this, there's parts in the book where the writing is sideways, or there's like one line per page, or there's like a whole bunch of writing per page in different blocks, but parts of different stories. it's just as confusing as the house is. I figured this out while I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, what they're doing is I'm lost. I'm trying to find my way through this maze the same. And it's brilliant. What I did, and I'm not sure the link that's on this show, but when I went to buy it, you can buy the paperback, or on Amazon, I picked up the library bound edition because I think it only ever came out in paperback. But I picked up the library bound edition. So I have what essentially I would call a hardcover, but apparently it's a special thing, and it's in color, which doesn't, there's no illustrations. It's just some words are in color. The word house is always in red, right? Like it's a strange book that I read, and it literally plays in my mind at a few times a week. And I'm reading through it again right now. Would highly recommend it if you like strange things.
Thank you, Joe. Like Gab, I listen to my novels and don't read them. I don't read a physical book. And so I have two that I've listened to within the last couple of months that I just love. One is called Bewilderment by Richard Powers. Now, Richard Powers has written a number of novels that have a kind of a philosophy behind them. And Bewilderment is really, really interesting because it is the story of a widower father and his son who's on the autism spectrum. And it's about how he grows to understand his son. It's about their relationship with nature. It's about how they remember the boy's mother and the man's wife who died suddenly. And she was a very passionate environmentalist. And so it's fascinating. It is really great. It's a great read, good reader. And I think it just outlines some really good philosophy stuff about the environment and the future of the environment. So that is definitely one. And the other one is another one that I read that is just like fluff, but it is an author whose fluff I love. Becky Chambers is a science fiction writer who has, her most recent book is about a monk and a robot who discover and create special blends of tea. And if that sounds just right enough, it is great. It is so good. That's not my book I'm recommending. I'm recommending a book called The Galaxy and the Ground Within. And it is the fourth in a self-contained series. And each one of the books is self-contained, but set in this particular world of Becky's. And it is really interesting because it is a bunch, for me, it's really interesting because it is a bunch of different science fiction. So it's set out in the galaxy. It's a bunch of different species coming together in a bit of an emergency and learning about each other. So it's a discovery of each other's cultures and sharing, and a bit of conflict in it. My favorite part is that it is a universe that has a lot of humans in it, but humans are not the focal species, unlike most science fiction. And so they do some really funny jabs at how weird people are. And there is a particular moment where they talk about cheese that will not leave my brain. It cracks me up every single time. And so I encourage you to go and check that out. That's The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. So before we go on to our final section, 2 gifts that we'd recommend, we want to take a second and thank UltraCamp. If you are a CampHacker podcast listener, there's an exclusive offer from UltraCamp. You can go to ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker and check out their marketing toolbox. It's a free guide for you to download and get some 10 best marketing tips and tools from UltraCamp. And as we all know, marketing is a big challenge for summer camps, and grateful for them for offering CampHacker listeners that free toolbox. If you're a kind of person who feels like you spend too much time in your office and not enough time out in your camp world, helping your staff, getting to know your campers, etc., then the folks at UltraCamp really do understand that problem. And they know that you didn't get into camp to be a paperwork machine. And so they created the software that helps get camp professionals like yourself out into the world, handle your camp registration and administration quickly and efficiently, and get out there and experience camp. There are no limits on what you can report on or happen. You can get insights or advice with your data that is inside UltraCamp. With UltraCamp, you get unlimited custom reports, unlimited support, unlimited training, And you have an unlimited number of users who can access that information, which is also a big part of delegation that we talked about in the last podcast. UltraCamp's goal is to provide resources so their clients can spend more time in camp doing what they do best. If this doesn't sound like what your registration software does, don't you think it should? Visit their website at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker and set up a time to chat. They look forward to meeting with you. And we really do thank UltraCamp for the sponsorship of CampHacker. So we are going to finish this off with 2 gifts that you recommend for every single camp director. And I'll start us off this time. The number 1 gift that I recommend is called Manta, M-A-N-T-A, sleep mask. And it is like lots of people have the sleep masks, some of which are heat molded to give a shape to take them away from your eyes. Manta really is one that blacks out everything. And both Beth and I use them. We have ones for home, one for travel kit. They are comfortable and make a huge difference in our ability to sleep. And I have a hard time sleeping without it. I couldn't find mine yesterday for the first time in a couple of years, and it was so weird sleeping without it, not having all the light blacked out. So that's one way that I take care of myself, by getting lots of extra sleep, and I'd recommend it as a gift. The other one is the Lever Gear cable kit, and it is just it's smaller than the size of a pencil, the length of a pencil. It's a way to plug in your phone wherever. You can put it on your keychain. It's a little rubberized and plastic thing that has a USB and then an iPhone adapter on the end, but you can also put in a micro USB or a USB-C adapter onto it. It also includes a little pin for pushing out the SIM cards on your phone, if that's a person that you need that for. It might be helpful for other things too. But it's a little less expensive than the sleep mask, but it is something that is incredibly useful and I'd highly recommend. Joe, what is your idea for 2 good gifts for every camp director?
2 great gifts for every camp director. The first one is only a great gift for a camp director who plays guitar or ukulele or whatnot, but it's an upgraded pick punch. If you don't know what pick punch is, go to the original, which is Pick Punch, exactly as it sounds, P-I-C-K punch. And you can take any old card, like credit card, license, health card, gift cards from stores, and you can turn them into guitar picks. I have a whack of regular shaped guitar picks that I've cut out. And what I do is when I play guitar at chapel or around camp, I throw them out to the campers and they love it. And there's 0 cost to me in this except for the pick. Now, I don't play with regular shaped guitar picks because my hands are just mittens and they're very small. And so I play with a larger rounded rectangular pick. It is. And so I realized that Pick Punch had this upgrade. I purchased it and had it shipped to me a few months ago. As a Canadian, shipping is what kills you. But in the States, it's like $30 to buy the Pick Punch plus shipping. And it is totally worth it. This upgrade is slightly bigger. They also make one they call the Dorito chip shapes. It's an actual triangle, which I've tried to play in the past. And so that is it. The Pick Punch 3-4-6 large rounded triangle pick is what I'm recommending. The second thing, and this would go with Chris's journaling thing from earlier in the show, is the sort of notebook. The sort of notebook is what I've now used to replace my moleskin. So I'm holding, if you're watching on camera, I'm holding it up, and it looks like a moleskin notebook. But what you can do with it is like a giant piano hinge, and you can take the pages out and sort your pages however you want. So each month when I go, so I have October here, I can shift October to the back. So when I open the book, I'm on my November, and then it's hard to do on camera with people watching and all of this pressure, but essentially you just open it up and you slide it in like it is, like it's, and then you close it again and it's a bit. Now I've added to, if you're watching, I've added a bookmark to my, like a long thing to mine. It doesn't come with it, but Sorta is a company out of LA and it's brilliant. once again, as Canadian, it costs an arm and a leg to ship, but I just had them ship me a whole bunch of extra paper, so I'm good for the next few years. But it's a different notebook, and I don't need to keep all of those pages that suck.
Mechanically, it's cool that bending the binding around provides the lever that opens up the gripper. Like, that's really fun. Yeah,
it's like a giant, what I call a purse clip. So a giant, other people call these binder clips, but when you have them both down, and that looks like a little purse, right? So
gotcha. Yeah.
That's my friend Tracy who taught me that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my pick. Once again, it's like $25 shipping from LA, $25 for the book, and then I don't know what shipping is. So there you go.
Gotcha. Thanks, man. Chris, what's 2 gifts you would recommend?
I was thinking about what I want, or actually, I was thinking about what I need, actually, but I don't want to buy for myself, honestly.
Gotcha.
And this isn't everyone, because I know a lot of camp directors have these voice amplifiers. It's like those speakers that you wear on your belt, and you have like little thing.
SMRT.
Every single welcome assembly, every single year, I'm like, what would make this better? And then camp starts and I forget about it. And I'm like, it's just so clever. So again, if you don't know, it's just a little speaker that you clip on your belt. You talk into a mic and it just projects your voice out. So you're just a little louder. I am anti-megaphone and I'm anti like gym whistle when it comes to kids at camp. And that this just is a little natural way to get your point across. And also, I've become so much more aware of accessibility issues at camp. And some people are hard of hearing.
Yes.
And I don't know how many times I've been in a room and they're like, oh, can everyone hear me? I don't need the mic, right? I don't need the mic. You can all hear me, right? And then 90% of people go, yes. And then people go, well, I guess this is the thing that I'm going to deal with. It's just such a simple fix. And when you are giving a presentation, don't you want to be louder? There's no downside. So check that out. There's a whole bunch. If you search voice amplifier on Amazon, there's a whole bunch. I'm not endorsing any particular brand. Clearly I don't own one. And if you want to get one for me, just, reach out, let me know. I'll tell you where to ship it. All right, let's dance. Okay. Second thing is, and this is something that I received this past year at camp, make something for a camp director. Honestly, they're going to love it. I got surprised at camp that the other director of camp had taken every year's t-shirt and woven it into a quilt and gave it to me in front of the entire camp. And I burst into tears, and it's all caught on camera and video. So that is something so magical, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. And so I would just say, honestly, make something. If you're not good at making things, find someone who is. And if they're not, then there's always Etsy.com. Get someone else to make something.
Which, sir, is a magical segue into Gab's pick.
Yes. For me, I am a big fan of care packages, and I choose a couple of people a year that I volunteer that they need to get me a care package. And I appreciate myself for doing such a thing, because I do need them. And Jackie, the other camp director that I direct with, also my mother, she's very good at creating care packages where I get socks and an Archie comic, Don't Judge, and a bunch of other really cool things. But there's also a friend of mine sent me this really cute care package that was an eco-friendly care package, and I really appreciated that. So you can Google eco-friendly care packages, and there's so many out there. But the one that I got was a bee-specific one that supports bees' health and wellness, and I very much benefited from their cream and honey and bee wax saran wrap. So that was very awesome. And the other thing that I got this year, which I was not expecting, was that would bring me so much joy, was coffee. Now, I'll be transparent. I drink decaf. Again, don't judge. But I do like the taste of coffee. And so there's this wonderful coffee store in Montreal called Canal, and they have a delicious decaf. I believe they also have delicious other types of coffee that to help our brains go. But just having that extra, the non-camp coffee, which is actually quite good at our camp, but just having a different morning beverage is just really, really nice. And so she throughout the summer just would regularly, every 2 weeks, would send me that decaf coffee, and it was so great. So if you're looking at supporting your fellow camp director, the necessities such as coffee and whatnots are just lovely if you just want to up it from what the camp is giving them.
Those were so good. So many of those things are going on my list, everybody. I thank you for sharing your ideas and for this mental and spiritual health focused Tool of the Week session. And on behalf of all of us, we want to wish you an incredibly happy 2022. We know that 2020 and 2021 have been very long years. And hopefully this gives you a few little things that will make the next year a little bit easier. In wrapping up, I wanted to take just a second and highlight one other Go Camp Pro podcast. I want to thank Howie and Kelly for putting out the Camp Owners podcast. Even if you are not a camp owner, this is a great show to listen to. It's just smart advice, really thoughtful, and they're doing some really great things, highlighting what it means to be a camp owner if you ever want to be that. But just in general, it's a great show for people who are camp directors. So if you want to go to your podcast app and search for the Camp Owners podcast, you'll see that there. And I think it is a great tool as well for camp leaders. If you want to find these things that we've been talking about today, or even how to contact our hosts, you can go to camphacker.tv/podcast. You'll find links to how to get a hold of Chris and Joe and Gabz and myself, and find out all that there, again, at camphacker.tv/podcasts. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The Camp Hacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening. Camp Hacker, bringing your world into focus.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more Camp Pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.
Hey, it's Travis. Camp directors often tell me they're just too tired to take on anything new. That's exactly why my free Resilient Camp Blueprint Diagnostic exists. It doesn't add work, it shows you progress. Quick, free, repeatable, you'll know if your systems are paying off without the guesswork. Try it today at camp.mba/Travis. That's camp.mba/Travis.